Kunja Bihari Gopichandra Vallabha Giribardhatari Gopichandra Vallabha Giribardhatari Jasodanandana Rajachandra Ranjana Shodanandana Braja Jandaranjana Jamuna Tiravana Chari Yamuna Tiravana Chari Madhava Kunja Bihari Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare Hare Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. This morning's Bhagavatam will be on Canto 1, Chapter 13, and text and number text number 48. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Tadidam bhagavān rājann eka ātmātmanāṁ sva-dṛk antaro nantaro bhāti paśya māyayorudhā. Tadidam bhagavān rājann eka ātmātmanāṁ sva-dṛk antaro nantaro bhāti paśya māyayorudhā. Tadidam bhagavān rājann eka ātmātmanāṁ sva-dṛk antaro nantaro bhāti paśya māyayorudhā. Tat, therefore, idaṁ, this manifestation, bhagavān, the personality of Godhead, rājann, O king, eka, one, without a second, ātmā, the supersoul, ātmānāṁ, by his energies, sva-dṛk, qualitatively like him, antara, without, antara, within and by himself, bhāti, so manifest, paśya, look, tam, unto him only, māyaya, by manifestations of different energies, and urudha, appears to be many. Translation. Therefore, O king, you should look at to the Supreme Lord only, who is one without a second, and who manifests himself by different energies, and is both within and without. And the purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The Supreme Lord, personality of Godhead, is one without a second, but he manifests himself by different energies because he is by nature blissful. The living beings are also manifestations of his marginal energy, qualitatively one with the Lord, and there are innumerable living beings, both within and without the external and internal energies of the Lord. Since the spiritual world is a manifestation of the Lord's internal energy, the living beings within that internal potency are qualitatively one with the Lord, without contamination from the external potency. Although qualitatively one with the Lord, the living being, due to the contamination of the material world, is pervertedly manifested, and therefore he experiences so-called happiness and distress in the material world. Such experiences are all ephemeral and do not affect the spirit soul. The perception of such ephemeral happiness and distress is due only to the forgetfulness of his qualities, which are equal to the Lord's. There is, however, a regular current from the Lord himself, from within and without, by which to rectify the fallen condition of the living being. From within he corrects the desiring living beings as localized paramatma, and from without he corrects by his manifestation the spiritual master and the revealed scriptures. One should look unto the Lord. One should look unto the Lord. One should not be disturbed by so-called manifestations of happiness and distress, but he should try to cooperate with the Lord in his outward activities for correcting the fallen souls. By his order only one should become a spiritual master and cooperate with the Lord. One should not become a spiritual master for one's personal benefit, for some personal gain, or as an avenue of business or occupation for earning livelihood. Bona fide spiritual masters who look unto the Supreme Lord to cooperate with him are actually qualitatively one with the Lord, and the forgetful ones are perverted reflections only. Yudhishthira Maharaj is advised by Narada, therefore, not to be disturbed by the affairs of so-called happiness and distress, but to look only unto the Lord to execute the mission for which the Lord has descended. That was his prime duty. Amigina Timarandasya Jana Jana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militamyana Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Katamayam Tadati Svapadantikam, Nama Om Vishnu Vidaya Krishna Vastavitale, Shrimadi Satsrup Swami Nityanamani, Nama Om Vishnu Vidaya Krishna Vastavitale, Shrimadi Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityanamani, Namaste Saraswati Devi, Gauravani Bhajarane, Nirvishesha Sanyavali Paśyata Adeshtarane. Hare Krishna. So just take some water. If we look back here, we see a very interesting chain of events really going on, because Yudhishthira, his uncles and aunt have just left. They were so-called in his care, and he felt it his duty to look after them. It's a very similar circumstance to when Yudhishthira was also at the end of the battlefield of Kurukshetra. He was almost inconsolable. Even Krishna found it difficult to console him. But eventually, Krishna accompanied him to Bhishmadev, and Bhishmadev then spoke words which are very comforting to Yudhishthira. So, in the same situation, Yudhishthira is bewildered because his uncles have just left, his aunt has just left, and then Narada comes on the scene, and Narada starts to give the proper advice to Yudhishthira as regards what's actually happening. But the first thing that he says basically is that the Supreme Lord is like represented as Kala. He's like, everything is happening by his will. There's nothing that we can do. We're tiny in comparison, so therefore we just have to accept the will of Krishna. And he did this in, he says, don't lament for anyone. They are under the control of the Supreme. He brings them together and disperses them again. So no matter what you do, no matter what you think, no matter what you feel that you're in control of, you're not, because Krishna's in control. So this is the first thing that Narada says to Yudhishthira, to try to kind of get him out of the feeling of lamentation. And then in page 113.42 purport, the statutory laws of the state are in perfect imitation, replicas of religious codes. The secular state or the godless state allows the citizens to break the laws of God, but restricts them from disobeying the laws of the state. So, in other words, the laws of nature are going on. They're God's laws. They're happening here all the time. So this is the advice that Devarshi Narada gives to Yudhishthira. He says, there's laws going on. You can't do anything about it. Stop lamenting. You know, it's not you that's really affected by your uncles going away. You didn't affect that. That was done by Kala, or Supreme Time, or by the Supreme Lord, who's bringing some people together for a while and then he disperses them again. So it's not to do with you. You may feel that you're a Kshatriya, you're in control, you're trying to protect people, but ultimately you can't protect anybody, because even your own instrumentation, your body, is temporary. So what can you really do? So this is the factual reality that Narada is trying to impress upon Yudhishthira. So that's what we all have to take that upon ourselves, that we really can't do anything. It's all happening by Krishna's arrangement, and we're kind of like, sometimes we feel as if we've got a grasp of situation. We think we're in control of something, but you know, inevitably, it is gone again in another instant, and that is the laws of nature. And there's nothing we can do we can do about it. But at the same time, well, it's what is explained, that we still have to try to understand our internal nature, our actual nature, which is beyond this Kala controlled instrument that we're living in, and try to develop from that. So again, verse 43, Narada again talks about how Krishna brings men together and then separates them again. It's all happening by Krishna's arrangement. And the feelings of separation are there due to the illusory energy. So let's take some more. We may feel some separation from the people who have left, but when we die, what about that separation? And what about the separation that we've had from the millions of other births that we've had? So where are we? We're alone in this place, you know. Everyone has to fly his own kite, you might say. So we're ultimately alone here. But we're not really alone, because Krishna in the purport explains that we're there with the super soul as well, and we're there with the scriptures and the from without this and a spiritual master. So that's why it's incumbent upon us to take this relationship with the spiritual master very seriously. And it's explained as well that Prabhupada says that we should become a spiritual master. A very poignant thing to say. By his order only one should become a spiritual master and cooperate with the Lord. So that's the reason to become a spiritual master, to cooperate with the Lord. In other words, to get other people to take shelter of the Lord and to help the Lord bring other living entities back to the spiritual world. That is the function of the spiritual master. And then he warns, one should not become a spiritual master for one's personal benefit, for some material gain, or as an avenue of business or occupation for earning livelihood. So Prabhupada is again very, very strong on this, and that actually becomes, it's quite an interesting definition of a spiritual master, because it's very streamlined. Just help Krishna, help other living entities get back to the material, it's the spiritual world. Just do that. Then that's a spiritual master. That's what is implication here. If you try to do it for any other reason, then you're just a nonsense. It's just a complete. He says, don't do it. One should not become a spiritual master. And then he says, bona fide spiritual masters who look unto the Supreme Lord to cooperate with him are actually qualitatively one with the Lord. And the forgetful ones are perverted reflections only. So do you want to become a perverted reflection, or qualitatively one with the Lord? So we know which one we should choose anyway. And that's the one we should be endeavouring for, to try to attain that position as a cooperator with Krishna, not some mad lunatic going off trying to enjoy oneself separately, which is the state of the mad lunatics of Kali Yuga, the rugged individualists trying to enjoy more. I was just thinking this morning actually of the old punk scene, you know. And the punk scene used to be like, this is mine, I'm getting this is for me alone, I want this. Yeah, we can get it together. Yeah, we're hard men in this together. You know, you get as much as you can. You know, that was the grab mentality for so-called enjoyment. You know, it was a gross form of what, of course, slightly more subtle form is someone goes and gets a nice job, a nice occupation, and then starts to extort unnatural amounts of money from other living entities to kind of justify one's own existence, or to try to make one's existence as palatial as possible. And it's all done very nicely, and yes, I'll rub your back and you rub mine and whatever. And yes, we're all in this together. Also, we're all ripping each other off anyway, sure. Tally ho. You know, it's like the so-called gentleman's club, you know. That's in another kind of form of the punk rocker, or of course the hippie mentality was just free love. I love you. Let me elope with you. Let me experience your body. Let's experience this together. Because kind of like narcissistic, you know, enjoyers, gross enjoyers, and subtle enjoyers as well, enjoying poetry of love and poetry of conquest, and you know, so these are the kind of enjoyments that people are trying to get here in the material world, and it's gross actually. And there's another section, I don't know where I read it very recently, Prabhupada talks about all the different Kiba Vipa, Kiba Nyase, Shudra Keni Lai, Krishna Tattva, Se Guru Hai. You know, I'm not a a Brahmin, I'm not a Kshatriya, I'm not an Irishman, Englishman, whatever. I'm not a Hindu, Muslim, or anything like that. But I'm the servant of the servant of the servant. So that's just another way we're trying to enjoy in the world, by identifying with our group, our team, our guys, our girls. This is us, and and we are who we are, and therefore glorify us, and we glorify ourselves, and we glorify our nations. But then this has been completely debunked here by Krishna, saying he brings you together and he sends you apart as well, and even into different universes. So you might identify with being a somewhat Rover supporter, or a United supporter, or something, or an Irishman, Englishman, Muslim. But in the next life you're in some other galaxy. So where did that get you? The traditional example of the frog in the well is always applicable. How much can the frog know about the Atlantic Ocean? Is it 10 times as well, 20 times as well, 1,000,000 times as well? What is a million? Bhagavatān was talking the other day about all the millions of universes, the thickness of each universe, and so on. And it eventually just comes down to figures. Like you just won't have any conception of how great the false ego is, which is the thickest of all. But still, we're trying to get outside of all of these things, and we're doing this by Krishna's mercy. And we've only a short little time to do it in this tiny little body lifespan, where we're trying to get some taste of eternity, some understanding of eternity. But there are devotees who have experienced that, and who speak about it, and can speak authoritatively about it, because they are on the platform of eternity. Fantastic to meet people like that, my God. So anyway, then Krishna or Narada then kind of, again he puts Yudhishthira a little bit in his place by asking the question, like, you're only this illusory situation here, this body. How can you protect anybody? And you're thinking, how can they exist without you? Oh, they won't have me to help them anymore. They're in the forest, and therefore how will they live? And then, of course, and then these verses come up where Narada just explains that, like, there's food for everybody, and there's enough for everybody, every living thing. So you might think you're a protector, you're Kshatriya, but you're not. You're not really in control of any of this. This is all coming from Krishna. He may utilize you in that way, and you can get your greatest feeling of qualification one with Krishna. And very good. Let's do it. Let's try to get to that position. But don't get stuck in that position and think that therefore you're in control. So the gross body is under the control of time, and how can it protect others? That's the point that he makes. And then there's the whole thing about jivo, jivas, and jivanam. And then so where do we go then? The only thing that, therefore, O King, you should look to the Supreme Lord only, who is one without a second, and who manifests himself by different energies, and is both within and without. So just look to the Supreme Lord only. That's all that you can do. Don't think of yourself this, that, or the other. Just believe that you're a servant of Krishna. Just somehow or other get into that understanding, despite all your mind and false egos trying to tell you that you're the center, or that you're the person to be satisfied, you're the enjoyer. We just have to get out of that mentality. It's interesting here. This is a very good part of the purport where Prabhupada explains. I'm just going to read this again. The living beings are also manifestations of his marginal energy, qualitatively one with the Lord, and there are innumerable living beings within and without the external and internal energies of the Lord. Yeah, there's this point about, since the spiritual world is a manifestation of the Lord's internal energy, the living beings within that internal potency are qualitatively one with the Lord without contamination from external potency. Although qualitatively one with the Lord, the living entity, due to contamination of the material world, is pervertedly manifested, and therefore he experiences so-called happiness and distress in the material world. So this is the point. We're pervertedly manifested. This isn't us, and we're going around thinking we're experiencing happiness and distress, but we're not. This is so-called happiness and distress, and it is pervertedly manifested. Such experiences are all ephemeral, and they do not affect the spirit soul. So they're ephemeral. So I'd love to look up the meaning of that word. I should have actually done so. Ephemeral, but it means it's temporary. It's only there for a little while. That's my understanding of it, and it does not affect the spirit soul. So the spirit soul is just witnessing it. It's not even there. It's not experiencing. It's just the ephemeral being, a perverted reflection of the soul, which is experienced, which is called the false ego. So Krishna is so kind, and he creates this, or he has created simultaneously this so-called kingdom of temporariness for this ephemeral, temporary manifestation of the living entity. So it's all set up for this whole experience, shall we call it, an experience of temporality. And Krishna set it up just to bring us out of it, to bring us back to our eternal position. But we're so caught up in it. We're so caught up that we're not even aware that it's a temporary, ephemeral scenario that we're experiencing. All the great football cups, all the great civilizations, all the great companies and races and groups of people, they're all ephemeral. They're only here like this, and yet there's so much that goes into kind of maintaining it. So much energy. Is that interesting? That there's so much energy that is used and is needed to keep up the ephemeral false reality. I mean, the false ego is supposed to be 10,000 times thicker. Millions and billions of times thicker, to the power 10 to the power of I don't know what, is covering this universe. All the coverings on the outside of this universe, which is 4 million miles in diameter. 10 times more thick, and then 10 times again, and 10 times. So each universe is like that, is covered like that. And don't try to work that out in your head, unless you're very, unless you've got 4 heads. Don't try to work that one out. So, really, we're in that situation where we're in Kali Yuga. We think we're great. I'm great. We think that we're all there is, and we've got rid of God. We don't need God anymore. Why do we want God? We've got science. we've got food. We've got supermarkets. We've got planes to go where we want. Who wants God? We've got job. We're in the West. We've more money than anybody else. We can get more vaccines. So what's the problem? What do you want to bring God into all of this anyway? So that's the symptoms of the diseased living entity like me, and yet here's Narada coming and saying, "You're only here for a little while. Just get out of here quickly. You're only you're. Don't try to think you know anything. Don't think that you're a controller. You can't control anything." What does he say? Krishna brings people together and separates them again. You're a great manager of people. Yes. You're a great guru of people. Are you? You're not anything. So Krishna is Narada is trying to bring us down to size. But while we're here, we can cooperate with Krishna and help bring other people back, because that's the mission. Then you can be a guru. That's a simple definition Prabhupada is given here. Just help Krishna, cooperate with Krishna, bring other souls back. Don't be thinking you can do what you want to do yourself. This is the illusion of freedom that is sold in the West. The freedom really, like when you get really down to it, means you can buy a McDonald's. It means, and you can get entangled like anything in the karma there. You can have a Starbucks, You can go to Zara, you can queue up and get your clothes in Zara. This is the freedom, But actually, how much freedom have you? What's in your pocket? And what can you buy in Brown Thomas and not buy in Zara? Can you buy your Gucci bag rather than your Dunnes Stores bag? Do you know what I mean? This is the, this is what you have to contend with. Oh, I'm happy with what I have. But then why are you always looking beyond what you have? Why are you always looking at the stars, the superstars with all their money? A very good example I heard last night is that you want some situation that's a little better than what you have. You just want to have a little bit more. But for you to have a bit more means you have to steal from other people. To be able to afford your item in Zara or M&S or whatever, you have to depend on the sweatshops in Pakistan or Bangladesh, So the other guy gets a little bit of something so that you can have your, nice fabric on your back, Also, we know in the 18th, 19th centuries, in order to keep the price of cotton high, the thumbs of the cotton makers in, I think it was in Bengal or something, I'm not sure where it was, in India somewhere, they were cut off, so that they couldn't make cheaper cotton, so that the price was kept artificially high. And look at how much food is thrown into the ocean. So much waste goes on. But this is all to keep an artificial standard of life. I want to speak of an artificial standard of money. Somebody is going around with money, and then they have big jets and they bomb other places. So this is so that you can be a little bit better than everybody else. So you're creating this world. It's not God created this world, but we're creating this world. In that way, just because we want to be a little bit better. We're forcing a situation. So this is why Krishna is saying to Yudhishthira, just know you're not any of these things. You're a servant of Krishna, and therefore get outside this ephemeralness and understand that you're qualitatively one with the Lord. Stop being contaminated by this material existence. And this is what, as devotees, we have to do. We have to somehow or other stop being contaminated by material energy. And then we can be of some help to people in the world as well. Then there is some possibility of actually helping people. And then becoming one and, qualitatively one with Krishna, cooperating with Krishna. Because we're on this is the Shuddha Sattva platform. So these are the states of mind that we're trying to attain. But it's not just a state of mind. That's a kind of an artificial kind of a thing I'm sort of trying to say there. It's an actual experience that's who we are. We're trying to get to the actual real person, not the person who's taken it by the temporary things. Just like Yudhishthira here is presented as being he was identifying as a protector, but then he was immediately told, no, the laws of nature going on, you're nothing in amidst all of that. All you can do is try to see the Lord within, and that's where you will actually make progress, both within and without. So that's the message that's coming here to us, that we take from Narada, that we're trying to find out our real nature, our spiritual nature, and just focus on that in this world. Don't get distracted here by even somebody who may start off trying to help other people, but then starts to see that they can make a living out of this. This is a disaster. You can't make a living out of this, Prabhupada says. It's the business or occupation for earning livelihood. You don't do it. Don't do it for that, you know. Your livelihood, you'll have to just work out somehow or the other differently. And then try to cooperate with the Lord. So I'll stop there. Thank you for listening, and hopefully we'll see you again Friday. Pradosh Prabhu gives a talk, and then Sunday again Sanjay Prabhu. Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.